So I've noticed a peculiar thing that people who tend to have pornography addictions also have these co-occurring addictions with video games, social media, and other general forms of distraction. And I think it's very important to understand that, because it shows you that the addiction itself is not usually the substance or the act itself of what's pulling you. It's more of an internal thing that's expressed in various ways. But all of these things have in common is they work with a false avatar. So when we incarnate and our soul comes into this experience, we incarnate in our bodies, and this is basically the vessel that we use to have this experiential experience. We're basically here to have experiences and to grow and learn and to experience this three-dimensional earth plane. When a person is not comfortable with their inner self, they seek to have false avatars, and it's very easy to get caught up in the avatar of a first-person shooter or like a social media personality or anything where you're basically like hiding behind a different character that you construct virtually and technologically. And this goes a lot deeper into the whole human AI consciousness kind of split happening right now, but I don't want to get into that in this video. It's just important to note that anytime that you are spending time on these technological devices and with a sort of persona that isn't you, it's a refusal to be grounded within your real self and within this reality. And there's nothing wrong with having fun and, different experiences like that, but what happens is you ignore this consciousness, you ignore this body, this vessel, and that begins to have a toll and creates sort of fragmentation and split in your consciousness in this reality, because your soul becomes sort of confused and doesn't understand why the attention and the awareness is not at all within this reality. These things on surface value seem very harmless, but you have to understand that we as a species are driven by social proof, by feeling valuable. We're driven by feeling, it's very important to feel a sense of usefulness. And when you create false experiences, false digital experiences, and you get these sort of dopamine rewards from when you kill a bunch of people in Call of Duty or whatever. I used to like playing that game. Or if you just are having these orgasms and ejaculations with pornography, with these very exciting sort of scenes, it communicates to your brain and to your consciousness that you're already fulfilling a role. So when you come back into this reality, it's kind of like there's no more motivation, there's no more drive to create and to be successful. And again, it leaves a sense of emptiness in this consciousness. So it's very hard for most people to balance and to be able to enjoy things like video games and social media and pornography without being fully engaged and fully living in that false avatar. One mind hack you can do is, if you still, for example, want to play video games or still use your social media, is you have boundaries with yourself and you can set up your own internal kind of rule system. So whatever it is you want to accomplish, your goals and things that you know you have to work on, you kind of like schedule those into your day and do those first, and then have the reward later at a certain time of day. Like you let yourself play an hour of video games or whatever if that makes you happy. The important thing is to not dissociate from the self, from the body for too long, because it literally places your consciousness outside of yourself and it makes it hard for you to reintegrate into this body. And it's fine if you're doing things like meditation and you're not fooling your body or doing something constructive, but when you're dissociating and leaving your body, it tends to be if it's not for spiritual practice, then it tends to be because you're escaping some sort of pain or some sort of unhappiness with who you are. Most important for quitting these types of habits is having a strong why. So if you're having trouble with nofap and you really want to quit the pornography, you have to really have your reason in the forefront of your mind. Like, why do you really want this? Like, maybe your why is because you really want a real relationship, and your why and your desire has to be stronger than the pleasure, the short-term pleasure that you get from the pornography. You can even make a list and write down what it is that you're desiring, and maybe even make a list of writing down the time that you lose by engaging in this, what you lose by not optimizing your day and being in your actual physical avatar. It's important to be kind to the self and to forgive oneself, because if you're really hard on yourself and you're really not grounded, then when you try to quit something, it just creates more resistance, and resistance is magnetism, because there is no non-attraction. Everything is magnetic with two polarities. It has a positive and a negative. So you're either, when you're pushing something, you're still simultaneously attracting it. The only alternative is to be neutral. So you don't push or you don't pull, you're just in neutrality. And to be neutral, you can't have an emotional charge, meaning like you can't have emotional triggers about why you're quitting or why you want to do a certain thing. So if you're already here, you're in this reality, and you want to create a life that you desire, then make a decision to be present, to be in this physical avatar, and to be willing to create and manifest a life that is just as exciting, just as stimulating as what you receive from these technological avatars. This life is a game, it is kind of a video game, and you actually can learn a lot from playing video games about this reality. You can see how similar it is with our consciousness just inhabiting this form, and how we level up, we get to the next level. You're constantly playing, and there's never any time where someone feels like they've actually arrived. So the game just keeps going, and the real game is the game in which you're most present and which you're responsible to, and that's this physical reality. It's very difficult for the self and for the consciousness when you get these false rewards and these false dopamine stimuli from these technological avatars, because your self craves the energetic experience in this reality. And when you get these rewards in a different kind of dimension or different sort of plane, and you come back here, there's a sense of emptiness. That's why most people, you feel really great while you're playing, or while you're consuming pornography, or while you're on social media and getting the validation, but then when you come back to this reality, you hit a sense of that realization that this reality hasn't shifted or changed. So it's important to stay conscious, to stay present, to stay grounded in this reality. And if you have these temptations, be aware, use them consciously, experience them fully, and be fully present and aware while you're in these states that can be dissociative. And then when you come back, you will have the awareness that it wasn't the real experience. If you're in these technological avatars and you're somewhat dissociated or you're not present, then it kind of just serves sort of as like the drug state where you're escaping. But if you go into it fully, you experience it fully, and you come back into this reality, then you're able to retain the awareness that it was not this real visceral experience, and that it is not fully fulfilling to the self. Osho once told somebody who asked him, like, how do I quit cigarettes? He said, for 1 full week, I want you to fully smoke, have no resistance, just completely smoke, completely be in it, completely just fully in that awareness, and then come back after a week and tell me how you feel. And so the guy did this, and of course his experience was that once he fully went into it and once he fully completed it, because karma means incomplete action, so once he fully had the awareness and went into it and stopped resisting, it kind of just fell away of itself. And that's kind of how it is with different addictions and habits. If you do them consciously rather than resisting, you fully experience it and you fully retain your awareness while you're in the act, then something sort of happens where you sort of trick yourself into not craving it anymore, because we essentially crave what is forbidden, what is like we can't have, and like that we have an internal inacceptance for. So like that's what keeps us kind of like, oh, like I know I want this, I know I shouldn't, da da da. That kind of like push pull back and forth creates magnetism. So if you do something fully, completely, and retain your awareness while you're doing it and feel the full emotions, whether that's shame or guilt or sadness, and you fully experience those emotions, it'll actually help you move past the habits and addictions. So just remember, not everything that feels good in the short term is fulfilling to yourself, to your real self. True freedom and happiness comes with discipline and with doing what you know ultimately makes your full true self happy. Please leave a comment, like, subscribe to my channel if this video was helpful to you.